Last month, Witcher 4 and Intergalactic dropped trailers at the Game Awards, and with it, another round of discourse was started by disgruntled gamers. The controversy around The Witcher 4 is the most odd. A section of the internet is mad at Ciri being the protagonist because she is a woman and because they think she is ugly. I have absolutely no idea how people can think this, nor can I fathom anyone who actually played The Witcher 3 to be surprised that Ciri was going to be the main character. But, I already made a video talking about this. It's basically just me being baffled for 7 minutes. Go watch it if you want. But the topic of today's video is going to be about Intergalactic, because I think there's some more meat on this discourse. And I've noticed a pattern to the critique, and I want to use Zitiboi's video on the trailer as a springboard for my own thoughts, because, there's a few ideas that I want to push back against. Now, I've watched a few of his videos before. I particularly liked his review on Inotria and his Shadow of the Erdtree review, but this video of his is quite bad, and he's not alone in this way of thinking. Also to note, his video is capped at 360p. I have no idea why, but if you're wondering why this is so low resolution, I don't know what to tell you. It's not my video, but moving on. Okay, so the context. Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet is a brand new IP by Naughty Dog, which is a big deal because they haven't made anything truly new in a while, so there's lots of eyes on this one. The Last of Us Part 2, their last game, was critically and commercially successful, but it does have its loud group of haters, some of which are good faith and simply have issues with the story and the structure, which is fine. And some people who hate it just because it's kind of queer, as a muscular woman as one of the protagonists. There's the other protagonist is a queer lesbian. One of the major side characters is a trans person. Naughty Dog is a woke company. People are just going to be mad no matter what for their last game, basically. I say this to provide context to push back on Zitiboi's first point, that public perception of the trailer for Intergalactic was universally bad because of the amount of negative comments it received. Bad enough to disable comments on some uploads of the trailer.
Everywhere you see this thing on YouTube, the like to dislike ratio is getting boned more than Abby. I mean, I'm not a numbers guy, but this ain't looking good. This is not looking good whatsoever. And you'd think that after seeing a brand new IP from a beloved studio that hasn't made a new IP in 10 years now? Holy shit! You'd think there'd be more people excited when they finally announce they're making something new, but when the reaction is this visceral across the board, you know something is horribly wrong. This to me represents a change that's happening with gamers, a complete shift in preferences, a change that, believe it or not, is 4 years in the making. So what exactly is that change, and why has Intergalactic gotten all of the hate that it has?
First thing, likes and dislikes, as well as internet controversy broadly, hardly translates to the real world because the vast majority of people who buy games don't watch reveal trailers or leave comments on videos. If you do, you are a weirdo. Just like me, I watch them all the time. I make videos now. I am definitely part of the weirdo, but we have to admit, we are part of a minority of consumers, of people who actually buy these games, right? I've been reading game reviews and watching trailers since before YouTube, back when magazines were printed on paper. Most people don't do that. All that to say, pointing out that there are a lot of angry comments and that the dislike to like ratio is skewed towards the negative means little. Plenty of other successful pieces of media have been flooded by hate mail and the equivalent. I mean, people left death threats to the actress of Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. Death threats! I can only imagine the vile hate mails she received. So yeah, no wonder Naughty Dog disabled comments on some of the trailers, because these people, the people sending death threats, they belong in an asylum. Point being, people being mad online about a game they have not played yet, and a game we know hardly anything about, doesn't mean much. It's a non-issue. And if the game does flop when it releases due to it being bad, it won't be because of this trailer. It's going to be because it's bad. It'll have nothing to do with the protagonist being bald.
Reason number one. I mean, just look at her. If you need any more evidence that gamers are sick and tired of the non-attractive female character archetype that's been shoved into games, this is your biggest example. As soon as they showed this character, Jordan A. Munn as she's called, shaving her head, it was over for a lot of people.
So here we get to his first real reason. She is ugly. unless you already agree with this, this is not convincing. Well, how am I supposed to react to this if I just think she's not ugly? I don't know. Like, you're saying this as if it's like just going to be universally agreed. Like you're saying, like you're looking out the window and seeing that the sun's out and you're reporting the weather saying it's sunny. Like, no. Sure, like you specifically might find her ugly. That's fine. Everyone has preferences. But to act like this is a normal position or a mainstream one is pretty myopic. My circle of real life friends, and online ones, are made up of guys, girls, and a lot of queers. I guess I have a few straight friends here and there, but let me just say, it's not a sausage fest where I'm at. And the people in my circle, particularly the women, especially the gay women, but not just the women, found her extremely hot. Now personally, I don't really like short hair on anyone, but beyond that preference, how can you look at this face and figure and call her ugly? Like, I actually don't understand. Part of me wants to make a joke about how all these people, Zitiboi included, simply don't know what a woman looks like because they don't know any, but come on, being real, women are half the population. These people know what women look like. I can only assume that they ignore all the women in their lives that they aren't sexually interested in. I mean, is there another explanation? Please do if you're getting mad already at this point in the video. Please tell me why this is more than just being sexually frustrated at a video game protagonist. Just please, I want to learn. I want to understand your position. This brings me to the title of this video. Games aren't made just for you. And by that, I mean, while games are certainly designed with cis, straight guys in mind, they're not just made with straight, cis guys in mind. They're made for a wider audience because game companies want to make money. That's why they make games, to make money. And they want the maximum amount of buyers that they can. I couldn't find the statistics that would show the divide between women and men playing Naughty Dog games, but studies broadly show that women play almost as many games as men, and that number is getting closer to half and half every year. And while sure, plenty of women still play things like The Sims more than they do action-packed games, plenty of women still play action-packed games. Anecdotally, in my circle, trans women in particular play a lot of FromSoft games. And out of my friends who play Dragon Age and The Last of Us and other BioWare games like Mass Effect, quite a few are women and queer. To me, thinking that Jordan, the protagonist, is universally thought of as ugly to everyone makes me think that you just don't interact with women or even normal guys. And you also struggle to imagine perspectives that are outside of your own. Now, if you do find her ugly, I must ask, so what? How many balding, middle-aged, potato-faced, thumb-head-looking male protagonists have I played in my life? Way too many to count. Their hotness, never a consideration. If it's a third-person game like Intergalactic is, I'm spending most of my time looking at their ass and back. So what? Here, he gives off one positive example of a woman protagonist and several bad examples, and we're gonna go through them.
Look, not every woman needs to look like Eve from Stellar Blade, but seeing as though many AAA studios have been forcing unattractive girl boss characters into their games, which mind you, according to Legendary Drop's interview he did with employees at Ubisoft, is an intentional design choice, then after a while, this no longer is seen as a design choice that helps the story.
I keep saying this in the script. Having a preference is fine, but listing Eve as a positive example is telling. It explains a lot. I've heard gameplay-wise that Stellar Blade is pretty solid. No shame if you like the game at all. But praising Eve is interesting because, in the game, she is an android, and she looks like an inhuman sex doll. If you find that attractive, whatever. But personally, I like real women. Looking at Eve does nothing for me. In fact, I feel mildly embarrassed. Not because I'm a Puritan, I love how raunchy Baldur's Gate 3 is. I just don't like how Eve is so clearly fake? Unreal? Like she was designed by a 13-year-old who only recently discovered what a vagina is supposed to be through porn and medical textbooks. She's not even like supermodel hot. She looks like a lifeless toy that's meant to make a certain subsection of a guys horny and nothing else. Personally, I keep my horny times separated from my gaming times, unless it's Baldur's Gate, of course, because we all know why we play that game. But yeah, I have access to both the internet and all its wonders. And I also have a girlfriend who I live with. This is part of the script where I put in that image of Homer explaining to the other guy that he sleeps in a bed with his wife, not in a race car. People who really like Eve's design while shit-talking other women in games reminds me of this, right? His examples of bad-looking women, of which I'll be using my own footage from trailers recorded at a resolution that won't make our eyes bleed, is Mary Jane from Spider-Man 2, whose whole thing is that she is the girl next door. As in MJ is not supposed to be supermodel hot, she is supposed to be a somewhat average girl who, by the way, is still hotter than most of the women you'd find in your own neighborhood. Then he pulls up Kay from Star Wars Outlaws, who, I admit, her design is fine, but Ubisoft is consistent with face models, so in-game she does look a bit janky. But otherwise, in cutscenes and her design broadly, she just looks like a young, attractive 20-something-year-old woman with a classic 80s sci-fi look. I don't get it. And then there's the unnamed protagonist of Fable 4, who, again, just looks like a normal young woman with light or no makeup on. And then there's Abby, whose only sin is that she is hella muscular from her pursuit of revenge. Those are his examples of 1 good woman and 5 bad ones, all of which I disagree with. Oh, one last point about the baldness thing. If you engage in science fiction, you should know that edgy badass woman with short hair is an entire trope that is beloved by many. Look at Ellen Ripley from Alien 3, Jack from Mass Effect, Charlize Theron from Mad Max. I could go on. All the examples here are from before the modern culture war, and most normal real-life people either find these women really hot or they don't care. Caring about this makes you seem virginal and maidenless. There's no other way to describe it. What I really take issue here is the bizarre notion that it takes effort to relate to protagonists who are a different skin color or gender than you are. Effort. Like, people will complain that it's like less immersive. It takes them out of the game. Is that just like a skill issue? Or are you just like admitting it takes me no effort? What do you mean effort? It happens like automatically. What I want to know what people mean by this sentiment. Like, how does playing as an Asian woman with short hair make the game less immersive and harder to connect with? One of my favorite book series of all times is the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, a fantasy world that is built on a planet with unstable tectonic plates. Society-ending earthquakes and tsunamis are common, and the mages within the world hold these forces back. The protagonist, a middle-aged, chubby, disabled mother with intense trauma, who is a powerful magician, is probably as different as I could possibly be, yet I related to her just fine because we're all human and we all share a common humanity. It takes no effort for me to be in her shoes. It never takes me out of the experience. I have as much in common with her as I do with Geralt, a white, century-old monster hunter mutant. But hardly anyone complains about Geralt being relatable or not. Not to mention the fact that non-white gamers have had to relate to playing as white men the vast majority of the time. You know, there's like a century-old meme that's like, hey, last year we had 37 white male protagonists. This year we only have 36. I guess that number is these days closer to like, I don't know, 30 white dudes with 7 other people of various races and ethnicities and genders now. It's not, it's better. It's just not, it's still kind of like the same problem though. As a white dude myself, I can't fathom making this an issue. Who cares? Why care at all? Why does it bother you? Unless you have really weird feelings and thoughts about race and gender. Oh, it's about the short hair. Here, Zitiboi and I agree.
You cannot deny this is related to this.
It is about the short hair, isn't it? It's literally just the reason, which is an embarrassingly dumb reason to have. It always starts with men feeling weird about women, right? Entire ideologies built on the back of male insecurity and entitlement. Refer to my Measurehead video if you want to learn more. He also complains about her attitude, which is also perplexing.
But her goddamn attitude. If her look didn't turn you off, then the way she acts throughout this trailer is like listening to nails on a chalkboard. Nothing about Jordan shown here makes her seem likable or relatable in any way.
If you want the full context, go watch the trailer yourself. But my issue here is, 1, we don't know much about the plot of the characters at all, and 2, what we do know is that they are space bounty hunters. They're gonna be assholes, and they're gonna be rough around the edges. Clearly, Intergalactic has Cowboy Bebop vibes. What's with the double standard? Oh, so Spike can act like an aloof asshole, but that's fine because the short hair on this woman is making your dick feel weird, and that's why you're honing in on this otherwise innocuous behavior? Maybe she truly is an asshole, a complicated, not-so-good protagonist, you know, classic trope in the Cybertrunk genre. My issue with this train of thought is that we just don't know enough, and I can't fathom getting mad at this. The rest of the video is meandering speculation. Go watch the rest if you're curious. I just wanted to push back on this really bizarre attitude that a minority of loud gamers have been expressing. Having a preference is fine, but acting like y'all are the normal ones when there's so much evidence to the contrary is perplexing. Most people don't care about any of this. Most people have real reasons to be upset with real things going on in their life. A woman being bald in a game that's coming out probably near 2030 is not on the radar for most people. And frankly, I only noticed this because, like you watching this, I am online way more than I should be. Gaming is not just about your specific sensibilities. The industry is vast and wide, and if you don't like something, don't play it. If you're a guy, the vast majority of games are still being made with your tastes broadly in mind. It's just that most people, regardless of gender, find badass women with short hair hot. Just because you personally don't feel that way doesn't mean it's the end of gaming. It means that, culturally, you are being left behind. The same place where the people who believed in the satanic panic in the 90s and the same people who think rock and roll is a gateway to the devil are. So keep playing Stellar Blade in your goon cave, just don't make your sexual insecurity another person's problem, okay? Anyway, I'm the Rat Shepherd. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that jazz if you like it, and tune in for the next one. Thanks.